This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are live on this Thursday afternoon. I hope you are having a good one. I was going to record a forecast anyway, and I really just thought that this would be an excellent time to come on live and to talk to you and again, interact and talk about some significant impacts to many areas here. We've got two different systems that are really bringing widespread impacts. Some areas are really kind of in the brunt of it right now, like the Bahamas, and other areas like Jamaica, and eventually Hispaniola and Cuba and the Turks and Caicos. We'll be getting into it throughout today, Friday, and into the weekend. So as we get started, thank you very much for tuning in. Again, if you have a specific question about the forecast, you can put that in the chat below. Again, a couple of ways that you can help support us here at Meteo Mundo, just by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so far. We also have our super chats available. You want to make sure I answer your question, you can use the super chat feature and help support the channel as well. So let's get started. It's good to see everyone here as we get into it. And again, if you want to let us know what's happening in your area, I'm sure everyone in the Meteo Mundo community would love to hear it as well. I'm starting off with this shot because I just thought it was a really neat shot. This is our visible satellite imagery here, okay? And we've got that developing low in the southwest Caribbean. We have our other non-tropical low basically over the extreme northwest Bahamas. And we have some very, very strong winds as well. The numbers that you see right now are going to be wind gusts, and they'll come on from time to time. But in the last couple of hours, we've had a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust in Kingston, and it really hasn't been about the wind so far in Jamaica. It's been about the rain. I've been reading a lot of your comments from the last forecast I put up this morning. And basically all of you are talking about how overcast and how wet it already is. And this is just the beginnings for my friends in Jamaica. It's going to get wetter and wetter throughout today and at least through portions of Friday. And because of that, there actually now is a flash flood watch for all parishes until 8 a.m. tomorrow. But again, we've had some very strong gusty winds there, but the bigger story is going to be the rain for Jamaica. Now, it's both wind and rain up in the Bahamas here. Again, we had that non-tropical low basically develop over the Keys last night. That has raced off to the north and to the east, not racing, but it's broadening and deepening as it does so. And in Freeport, we had a 38-mile-an-hour wind gust here in the last couple of hours. We've had gale conditions since late last night through the northwest and the central Bahamas. We've had extremely heavy rainfall. There's been a lot of flooding in Miami. There's been a lot of rain in the Florida Keys. Marathon had over 6.5 inches of rain yesterday. And again, this will continue to plague the Bahamas throughout today and for tomorrow. And so for the Bahamas, you guys have a gale warning, an excessive rainfall, flood, and severe weather watch all until at least 6 p.m. today. Okay, so that's kind of the broad of what's happening right now. Let's swing back over to what's going on here. And again, some of the newer pieces of information with this. The Hurricane Center has upped the chance of development again from this system. So we're now back to a high likelihood that this is going to become at least a tropical depression. That's why it's shaded in red. We have an active Invest 98L. Winds are 34 miles an hour. There is a Air Force reconnaissance aircraft which is actually currently investigating the system. If I click on this, it's going to be really hard to see, but if I zoom in right here, do you guys see these little dots, these purple dots? That's actually the aircraft reconnaissance going through it here, and we can actually take a look at what it's showing. So they have aircraft pressure of 983 millibars. Now that is at their flight level, okay? It's not at the surface. But again, they are interrogating this storm. They've got a surface wind of 21. They're not actually at the core yet, but again, we have a active Air Force reconnaissance invest into this system. And so it'll be very interesting to get that real-time information and what the models will do with that as well, because all that information from the aircraft goes into this. But the Hurricane Center has become a little bit more aggressive in what they're saying with this right now. They're saying that the system is obviously going to bring the heavy rain, but I want to also mention this. It is possible that tropical storm watches may be required for some of the areas, including Jamaica, Hispaniola, and Cuba. All right, so Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So there is an opportunity that we might actually get tropical storm watches issued for Jamaica and eastern Cuba and Haiti. And they say that could even happen as early as this afternoon. So they are a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more bullish in actually this developing. Does it really impact what I think is going to happen? No, not necessarily. It might up the wind threat a little bit, but it's still really the copious amounts of rain that's going to be the bigger issue for us here. So again, for the island right now, it's raining cats and dogs. You can see this enhanced satellite imagery, Kingston on over towards Montego Bay. It's really the entire island. And again, if you're just tuning in, thanks for joining us here live at Meteo Mundo. I am Chief Meteorologist Rusty McCraney. It's great to talk to my friends across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. But again, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I mentioned it the last couple of videos. I think the rain is going to be very widespread, and we'll take a look at that real quickly as well. So that's been the enhanced satellite imagery. But this is going to be the GFS model here. Let me back it up in time just a bit, and then we'll start answering some of your questions as well. I just want to make sure I got the right time frame here. I think I do. Hopefully it'll start at 1 o'clock. If not, I can readjust it. Okay, so if we take a look at the GFS model, you can just see that we're going to be stuck in rain through the island at least until tomorrow afternoon. That's why there's a flash flood watch in effect. And again, let me know what you've been seeing. But just, you know, when I zoom in on Jamaica and we go through the rest of the afternoon, you're not getting out of it anytime soon. The deepest, richest tropical moisture is still to the south of you that'll be plugging its way across the island. And now even the GFS model is showing more rain for all of the island. Remember yesterday and even this morning, it was really concentrated on the eastern side of the island through like St. Thomas and Portland parishes. But now even off towards the Westmoreland and Hanover and St. Elizabeth, St. James, Montego Bay, Negril, Mandeville, Maypen, even those areas could still see some very heavy rainfall. And because, again, we're talking about maybe some hillier terrain there, mudslides could potentially be an issue, all right? So we have all of the rainfall hazards that's going to go along with this system. The flash flooding, the flooding of low-lying and urban areas, and the potential for mudslides as well. And it's not until we go pretty deep into tomorrow, I'm talking about the evening hours, that we finally see this move away, and then it becomes what's going to be happening in Haiti, in the Dominican Republic, and the eastern sides of Cuba. But again, extremely expansive, heavy rainfall totals there. All right, let's take a look at some of your questions. Good afternoon. Let's see here. Do you think a tropical storm watch will be possible for Jamaica? I did just answer that. Yes, it's absolutely possible. Look, the first aircraft reconnaissance is going into that area as we speak. I think a lot will depend on what they find. The Hurricane Center is going to take that and really use that information to decide whether they want to issue a watch. Now, they also want to try and issue watches at least 48 hours in advance. That's not going to happen with this system. It's going to be an earlier time frame than that. So really, it's going to be one of those things where do they issue a tropical storm watch, or if they think that this system is going to become a tropical storm, and that would be Vince, by the way, do they just go ahead and make it a tropical storm warning because we're within 48 hours, okay? So again, watch means conditions are possible, warning means conditions are likely, but there's also a time frame aspect that goes along with that as well. So we're so close to potentially seeing that they might just pull the trigger on a warning, but that's not necessarily going to happen. They're going to really have to find a good center there. They're going to have to find some stronger winds than what they've seen so far. But what we can do is actually monitor this real time. While I'm live on the air, we can go back to that live reconnaissance data that's coming in, and we'll take a look at it together. I'm very interested in what they find as well. So again, for Jamaica, extremely heavy rain. That's going to continue to fall. Hi, Janice, watching from Jamaica. I appreciate it. JW Negril says on and off light and heavier rain, but nothing bad as of yet. Yeah, that's kind of been what I've been hearing as well, JW, is that, you know, look, the rain has been fairly significant in some areas, but we've been able to manage the rain so far. It's just the additional rain that I think is going to be an issue here. So let's take a look at that while we're on the subject. This is going to be the GFS model for the additional rain. Now, again, this does incorporate what's already fallen this morning. So this is not going to be additional from right now. It is going to be from this morning, but I want you to notice that there has been a shift west. Now, this morning's forecast, again, it was only a couple of inches of rain on the western side of the island. Now the GFS is more like 6. Montego Bay 4. Mandeville, maybe close to 5 inches of rain. Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town 7. Port Antonio, the eastern side of the island 8. you get the idea now that, and I mentioned this in the last several videos, I never expected the eastern side of the island to get a foot of rain and the western side of the island to get 1 to 2 inches. I always thought that we were going to see a more uniform total, and I said between 4 and 8. I hope that that ends up being the case. The European model, which I'll show you, actually paints more than 10 inches of rain through portions of the island. Again, if you're just tuning in, your government has issued a flash flood watch for all parishes until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Okay, so please keep up to date with the local information. Please make sure that you're prepared if there is any flooding in your area. There's also a severe weather alert until 6 p.m. tomorrow as well, which encompasses all of the aspects, the wind and the rain, and very rough sea conditions, especially on the southern side. But again, this is going to be a higher end rain event for our friends in Jamaica. It's really just getting started. The rain will pick up and just be more consistent as we go through the rest of our afternoon and then into the evening and overnight hours here. So by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, I think it's a whole kind of different scenario. But again, these are storm totals. All right, this is exactly, this would be the entire rainfall that falls in this area. Let's see, I know I got Maypen on here as well. It's about 7 inches of rain in Maypen. And again, if we take the averages, we're looking at around 4 to 8 inches of rain across the island. That is more on an average the GFS is painting on than what it did over the last model run. And again, it gets even higher just north of the island. It's a little bit lower now for Hispaniola, but we'll talk about that coming up in a second. But the first area that's going to be impacted by this are our friends in Jamaica. So again, if you're just tuning in, thank you so much. We continue to see that count come up and we appreciate you. Again, I was going to do a forecast video anyway, so I decided let's just go on the air, let's go on live here and chat, because I know so many of you have been kind of paying close attention to this. Again, if you're just joining us, the Hurricane Center has now upped our chance again for tropical development in the Southwest Caribbean. There is a hurricane reconnaissance aircraft going in, but regardless, this system is about the amount of rain that it's going to bring to places like Jamaica, Eastern Cuba, and eventually on over towards Hispaniola. So we've talked about that, and we're going to get back into it a lot, I promise you. I want to don't want to neglect our friends in the Bahamas, because this is a story, that's for sure. Let me switch over to this product real quick here, and I'm going to zoom back in. You're going to, first of all, a couple things I can do. I'm going to take off the satellite data so we can look at the rain. Okay, so the Hurricane Center, first of all, has said that there's no chance of development anymore. The center of this is literally off of the west coast of Grand Bahama right now. We lost the radar there for a second, but hopefully there I can bring it back on. It's clear to see. Look at the twist. It's non-tropical in nature, but my goodness, the rain it brought to the east coast of Florida and the Keys, and it's been really rough weather here. Now that's the temperature. If I switch this, and again, these are our METAR sites. If I move this on over to the wind gusts, these are the current wind gusts. We don't have a current wind gust in Freeport, but if I back this up a little bit, there should be about a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust here. At some point in time, there's 38, and this was earlier this morning. All right, so we've had some potential gale force winds. Surf and sea conditions are obviously where you don't want to be going out of port right now. But again, the rain continues to spiral up through the northwest Bahamas. That's kind of one aspect of this. Obviously, the other thing is going to be the wind as well. So let's take a look at some of the model data out of the wind. And again, at this point in time for the Bahamas, there's a gale warning that is in effect. There's an excessive rainfall, flood, and severe weather watch all until 6 p.m. So let's take a look. Actually, what I want to do here is if I switch to this one, I can get rid of the data. Good. Okay. And again, a lot of adjusting behind the scenes, but we're going live. We're going to take it slow, step by step. Again, you got a question, drop it in the comments section below. I am happy to answer everything. Remember, we have our super chats as well. That'll come up nice and bright for me if you want to help support the channel. Make sure that your question gets answered. So let's take a look at the reflectivity out of the HER. There we go. Okay. So what are we talking about for the rest of today and into tomorrow? Well, first of all, this thing is going to have to let me get to the correct time frame. It's being very finicky right now, but there we go. All right, so you're looking at the model timeline on your top left side of your screen. I think some of the heaviest rain is beginning to move out. Now, that may not be true a little bit farther south, but for Grand Bahama and Walker's Key and Bimini and maybe even Abaco, we might start to see that dry slot on the southwest side move in. So I think we've got a couple more hours of rain. We've got another 24 hours of wind. Still could be some scattered showers tomorrow, but just the brunt of that heavier pounding rain might be beginning to move away. Now that may not be the case a little bit farther to the south. There's a little bit more rich moisture when you get back towards Andros and especially towards New Providence. You can see that heavier rain as we go overnight into Nassau and Eleuthera towards Spanish Town. That could be some very heavy rain along with that. Again, we've had copious amounts of rain with this and a ton of flooding issues through portions of Florida. And I would imagine there's some flooding issues through portions of the Bahamas. And if you live in the Bahamas, drop it in the comments below. Let me know what you've been seeing. I appreciate that. Always love to get those kind of real-time updates. And we'll talk about where you can send us some pictures and videos as well. Again, we're across all social media. I would love to show some of those pictures and videos in future updates as well. So again, the wind is one thing. The rain has been significant. You can see that. This is going to be tomorrow afternoon. Again, maybe beginning to dry out a bit on over towards Grand Bahama. But for the central Bahamas, there's still going to be some pretty heavy rain as that low finally begins to move to the north and to the east. So rainfall wise, and we'll take a look at some of the models and the additional rain, they're mainly painting on another 1 to 4 inches. I'll just kind of put that out there right now. Just depending on where you are, depending on where the heavier band's set up, we're looking at another 1 to 4 inches of rain between now and tomorrow afternoon. As far as wind gusts go, and again, when you got a gale warning, that means you've got some excessive winds, 39 to 54 miles an hour. So the winds are howling as this low deepens. And again, it's basically situated right on the western side of Grand Bahama right now. Some of the heaviest winds are going to be swinging up to the north and to the east, so we'll be monitoring that. But again, over the next couple of days, this is what I anticipate. I anticipate this continues to be a big wind maker for portions of the northwest Bahamas and then finally moving away. So again, as far as wind goes, today is the worst day. It'll get a little bit better tomorrow. But if we take a look at where we could have some strong winds, I mean, again, we're going to get some gusts across, Lucaya and High Rock and West End and Freeport there in Grand Bahama that could approach 50 miles an hour from time to time. Same thing for the Walker's Key area. Abaco, again, it just is dependent. Just because the winds calm down for you a little bit doesn't mean they won't freshen back up later in the day. You can see just north of the island, the model is painting on over 50. The winds may not be overall as significant down towards Nassau and Abaco and Eleuthera, but we'll still get some gusts over 30. And the winds will still be breezy, still be gusty down towards Arthurstown and Georgetown Central and even southeast side of the island. So again, still significant impacts weather-wise for today with the gale warning and that heavier rain that will continue to plague the area. Let's take a look real quickly at the visible satellite imagery because that thing is just neat. So if I swing back over here and we'll put on the Viz satellite imagery, there you go. So it's pretty clear to see, and the rain and the radar is going to come on top of this. Again, this is all real time. This is what's happening right now as we're live. So it's very clear where that non-tropical low is, basically over the west side of Grand Bahama, near Bimini right now. We're getting a little bit drier air shoved into the southwest side. That's why, as this moves away to the north and the east, we'll probably start to dry out in Grand Bahama, at least from the persistent heavy rain. But there's still rich moisture back down towards Nassau and other portions of the northwest Bahamas to continue to see some very rough conditions there for at least the remainder of today, and if not through portions of tomorrow as well. So that's kind of the latest what's going on with that one. We'll get back over here. I'm going to switch over and take a look at some of your questions. And again, I appreciate everything here. Let's see here, guys. Master D says it was falling in Kingston, but it's now drizzling. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the situation. We're not going to get just earth-shattering rain all the time, but look at this moisture. This is your infrared satellite imagery, and when you get to those blacks and reds and those whites, that is high cloud tops, saturated air. I can show you the upper level water vapor imagery here. Just look at all of that. Look at all of the moisture that is still going to be funneling in. It's about the rain. It's about the rain in Jamaica for sure. Let's see here. Gigi says, rained a bit where I'm in Kingston, not raining now, quite bright. That's good. JW says, what does Saturday and Sunday look like in Jamaica? My expectation is that it will be gone by then, yes. The rain should begin to fall apart late tomorrow, and Saturday and Sunday looks much drier. May still see a few showers, but whatever flood issues that we might have with this, should not be around on Saturday. We should get rid of that by tomorrow. But again, there might be a lot of water that still has to, percolate through even over the weekend. So we still could have some high levels of water even over the weekend, but I don't expect much more additional showers Saturday and Sunday. Okay. Hi, Sharon, watching from Jamaica. I appreciate you. Weather Tracker says over a foot of rain is expected. It's absolutely possible. And I'll show you the European model here coming up in a second, where they are painting over 10 inches of rain. 4 to 8 with locally higher amounts is kind of what I'm going for, but up to a foot is not out of the question whatsoever, especially again in spots, because you're not going to have uniform rainfall totals. Terrain comes into that, and just where some of these heavier bands sets up, you can have double the amount of rain 10, 15 miles away from, one location. I've seen it happen so many times before. But if you look on this water vapor imagery, you can actually kind of see just a little bit of a spin there on the side. Now, there's a little bit of drier air there, and obviously the storms and the heaviest rain are displaced to the north and to the east, but this is what the hurricane hunters are looking for. If I throw again back on the reconnaissance aircraft data, again, they are investigating now the northern side of the storm. So you can see that right there. Those are their plots. So again, they're going through these storms and seeing what kind of pressure levels they're getting, and also what the winds are doing both at their flight level, and of course they're dropping what's called drop zones, and they're getting data that goes all the way down to the surface. And all of that is used by the Hurricane Center to come up with forecasts, both in the here and the now, and of course through the model data as well. So getting an aircraft reconnaissance airplane in there is quite important for the data. And again, if you're just tuning in, the Hurricane Center is more aggressive. Now I'm gonna switch over to the visible satellite imagery because I just love it so much. The Hurricane Center is more aggressive with their wording. Again, it's back to a red, which means it's a high chance of development. And if you're just tuning in, again, they say that it's possible that tropical storm watches may be required for Jamaica, Hispaniola, Eastern Cuba, some of those areas, if not all of those areas, maybe even as early as this afternoon, because there is a high chance that a tropical cyclone is going to develop. Even if it's just a tropical depression, then we would get a cone and a forecast track and all that. Again, I don't expect this to be strong. It's not like it's going to wrap up to a high-end tropical storm, but we could get a closed center. We could then get a core of winds over 40-mile-an-hour gusts, and so that could be another threat for places like Jamaica and the western side of Hispaniola, including Haiti and maybe eastern Cuba. And again, as you get towards the Turks and Caicos, it's always been about the wind threat, because this will begin to accelerate as it moves up to the north and to the east. See here, Chad from East Westmoreland says rain has stopped, but it was heavy this morning. Alina says, I'm in Florida, hope that everyone in this island over prepares. That's what you have to do. Absolutely. Look, you can't be over prepared, and I appreciate that sentiment. We really make that a messaging. Just make sure that you're ready to go, especially if for some reason you were to lose power for a couple of days. Just make sure that you have some nice fresh water supplies, and again, you're prepared to mitigate any flooding issues that could happen out of this. And again, really bright clouds right over the island right now. I know you can't really see the island. I can switch this, make it a little less dense. I don't want to make it too less dense, but you get the idea. Look at those bright white cloud tops right over the island. And I can take off the formation zone as well. That'll help. But again, nice little twist right there. It's going to spin up some more rain. You're just getting started in Jamaica. That's the bottom line. Hello, Andre. Says, hi, Mundo. It's raining in Kingston on and off, not very heavy. Good to hear that it's not there so far. Let's see what else here. Again, if you want to throw in a super chat, we'll make sure we'll get that for you as well. Yeah, Chad says, look at that spin. Absolutely. That's what I'm looking at as well, Chad. Again, that to me is a mid-level spin, especially considering that the invest area is here. But could this kind of wrap back around? Absolutely. Again, this is a weak broad disturbance. Again, it's never going to get strong, but there will be areas of rotation in and around. But certainly, again, right here, nice little spin up there on the visible. We can take a look at it in a couple different ways. It's really neat. I love to interrogate this stuff while we're live like this. Let's see. Let's pick a couple of different things we can look at here. See what this looks like real quick. All right, these are cloud tops. Nice little blow up there. You can see the higher cloud tops. Good little blow up there. Mid-level moisture. Always a kind of a good indication as well. Oh, you know what? I got to switch over to here. There we go. You guys can't see what I was looking at. All right. Let me bring the alpha back up. There we go. Yeah, decent. I mean, no doubt about it. Mid-level moisture, looking good. Let's see here. Let me go back to the cloud tops. Yeah, I mean, it's all there. Nice little spin. Nice little spin. Cirrus look, our high cloud tops here. These are just, this basically just only shows you the highest cloud tops on this imagery. And again, this is all high resolution, GOES 16 satellite data. We pay for it. You know, we want to bring you guys the absolute best available data that we can. So again, we've spent some time and money and the resources here. I hope that when you're watching this, it's something that you've never seen here on the digital platforms, and we appreciate your support by smashing that like button, by that subscribing as well. So again, the purple dots that you see, that is a live aircraft flying in and out of that area, and we'll get that data here, and the next update from the Hurricane Center will incorporate that. So I'll take that off the screen. Throw this on. By the way, let's look at the forecast models. We'll get into a couple of other things that I haven't gotten into yet. Let me take that back off. So again, now that we have an invest, we do have our spaghetti plots running. All right. So again, these are our tracks from the different suite of tropical models. And even since this morning, they are very much in agreement to go right over Jamaica. Again, it's going to be a broad center. So it's not as if the center tracks on the eastern side of the island or on the western side of the island, I'm not expecting much of a difference, because it's not like we're going to have hurricane force winds and a little 25-mile core. This is not going to happen. This is, again, you know, third week of November. We're not going to have that kind of tropical system, but we're going to have some wind and we're going to have some rain. And again, that track continues to be the same one that I've talked about for over a week. You know, you can lament the GFS model for being too strong as you want, but it was bullseye on with this track right over East Cuba, western sides of Hispaniola, and then right through the Turks and Caicos and portions of the southeast Bahamas. Okay, I'm going to take myself off camera real quick, and we're going to take a look at a couple of different things. Going to start off with the GFS model, all right? And I want to show you this because the GFS model is still painting on a system, a depression, maybe even a tropical storm. So you can see that the black there is the mean of the ensemble members. That means what is the average of the GFS model? And that's what you see, all right? So again, in black, and it keeps it as a actual tropical system through the entire time frame, all right? So you have to assume that we're going to continue to see a tropical storm or tropical depression winds out of the GFS model through the Turks and Caicos before it rapidly accelerates to the north and to the east. Now, the European model is not as aggressive, okay? Maybe a tropical depression, but maybe not even a tropical depression, might just keep it as a disturbance. Again, overall, in a broad sense, it doesn't really change what I believe is going to be happening across the islands, because it's still going to be the rain threat as the biggest issue out of this system. Let's look at the rain threat, and this is going to be a problem, guys. Again, this is the European model. Anywhere that you see whites right now are areas that are over 10 inches of rain. I want you to notice that we have encompassed now a lot more of that area of Jamaica, all right? It was a little bit more east in the last model runs, but again, with that broad track being over Jamaica, now we start to talk about, even on the European model, upwards of 10 inches of rain in some spots. It's still going to be localized in nature, but just overall, it's heavier rain. And if you notice over Hispaniola, the blues and the greens, those are lighter amounts. So even the European model has now shifted the heavier rain slightly west. That would put more of eastern Cuba for some of that heavier rain. Still could be significant rain and enough to cause problems in Hispaniola because of the very mountainous terrain, especially on the Haiti side, the western side there. We got to keep a close eye on that as well. Now, the Euro rainfall totals for the Northwest Bahamas. Just underneath that banner is 3.87 inches of rain for Freeport, all right? This is additional rain from what has already fallen, all right? So again, I mentioned the 1 to 4 additional inches of rain, and that's what the European model is showing. Obviously, could still lead to some flooding issues through portions of the Bahamas, especially with some of the rain that you've already seen. And oh, by the way, you know, we've got tide cycles to deal with as well. We are actually moving into a low tide cycle for Grand Bahama and Abaco and Bimini. The next high tide will be at 9:51 p.m. this evening. It's a 3-foot high tide. So for our friends with boating interests there, again, your next high tide in Grand Bahama is 9:51 p.m. tonight. Large swells, and obviously we're churned up with the gale warning that's currently in effect. So let me jump back on camera real quick. Again, let's take a look at where we have the issues. The flooding rain threat for Jamaica, Eastern Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. The gale warning here, again, for the Northwest and the Central Bahamas, but there's even more to add on to that. For Jamaica, if you're just tuning in, it's a flash flood watch for all parishes until 8 a.m. tomorrow. Flash flood watch for all parishes for my friends in Jamaica until 8 a.m. tomorrow. Severe weather alert for the island of Jamaica until 6 p.m. tomorrow. And again, please check in with your local government, your local officials for the official messaging and any updated information that you need. But again, if you live in Jamaica, you need to prepare for the possibility of flash flooding as this disturbance moves into the area. Now, again, it's already raining, but it's going to pick up in intensity overall tonight and through tomorrow. For the Bahamas, it's a gale warning and then excessive rainfall, flood, and severe weather watch until at least 6 p.m. tonight. And we'll see if they extend that as well. Okay, so I do here want to get back. Oh, you know what? I'll show you this graphic as well, and then we'll get back to the other aspect. Again, people asking me, what's going on with social media? Well, we're all over the place, guys. Instagram, Meteo Mundo, TikTok, Meteo Mundo. We have a Facebook page. And if you want to send us pictures or video, first of all, you can write this down. Secondly, this email address is on our community tab here on YouTube, mymeteomundo@gmail.com. Send us pictures and videos there. We've had some people send us videos on our Instagram feed. That's absolutely fine. And again, I would love to show those to everyone here on YouTube during the next forecast update. So send those to us. Again, I always want to see the real-time information and those real-time pictures and videos because that really tells the bigger story. Okay, so we'll get back here and we'll reset things. Now I'm going to take some of your questions as well. So let me get back out to the big area. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Believe it or not, the first time the entire live stream. That's really good for me. Okay, let's get into it here. All right, let's see here. We do have a super chat and Event. Thank you very much, Event. We appreciate you very much. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you to everyone for supporting the channel. Again, liking and subscribing is another way, but any other support through a super chat or through the descriptions below, certainly appreciated. Okay, Jam Realtor says, messaging from St. Elizabeth, really appreciate this heavy rain this morning, but nothing, can feel the wind picking up. Yeah, again, you know, it's not going to be a consistent heavy rain all day for Jamaica, but certainly it's going to pick up overall as we go through the remainder of today, tonight, and at least through portions of tomorrow. I would just expect the wind to become more persistent, the rain to be more consistent, and when you're still talking about at least 24 more hours of the potential for heavy rain, even if you average a ½ inch of rain an hour, that's a foot of rain. So that's the problem here. And again, there's all signs point to all this moisture-laden air driving right over Jamaica. So it is a big rainfall potential for Jamaica. Let's see here. Family Sailing 5 watching from Lupur in Dominican Republic, telling other cruisers to subscribe to your channel. First of all, I'm a sailor as well, or at least I was. Our family had a sailboat in St. Petersburg, Florida. I'll admit we mutinied fairly quickly, but I'm a huge boater. Grew up on the west coast of Florida. Have spent more than a year of my life down in the Keys. Island Murata, mile marker 80, the Breezy Palms Resort. That's where we went every June. I am very, very attuned to my mariner friends and my boating friends. Going to keep a really close eye on that forecast as well. But yes, finding safe harbor throughout this area, I think, is going to be very important for sure. And obviously, I hope my friends in the Bahamas have found some safe port and some safe harbor as well with the gale force warnings. Let's see here. Check how warm is the water and wind shear level. The water temperatures, I can't show that with a snap of the finger, but the last check, they were anywhere from 83 to 86 degrees in the Western Caribbean. Well supportive of a weak tropical system. Again, look, this is third week of November, guys. This is not August, okay? So there are different dynamics in the atmosphere. First of all, we are in an El Nino phase, which really produces strong upper level winds. Typically, that's going to rip apart these systems that are trying to develop. And the El Nino certainly impacted this low because it brought a ton of wind that as that low tried to spin up, that drier air rushed to the surface. And that's why you had all of these gale winds. And by the way, too, if I switch over back to this product, take a look at the twist in the Central Gulf of Mexico. That's non-tropical, but we have literally 3 areas of low pressure, 1, 2, and then 3 trying to develop. These 2 are non-tropical because they're off of frontal boundaries. Again, November, cold fronts work their way all the way through the east coast of the United States, but then here's your non-tropical one, or your potential tropical one right there as well. So it really is an amazing setup. But the reason why we have the potential for tropical development down here is because we do have sea surface temperatures that are still being able to support this and a ton of moisture, okay? So kind of like 2 positives to tropical development, 3, very low level shear, non-existent. Low level shear non-existent, deep tropical moisture, high sea surface temperatures. Only thing that's kind of the negative is going to be the strong upper level winds, which can shear apart the storms as they try and build up. But in November, you're never going to get a high vertically stacked storm anyway. And the forecast is for this system here to merge with this frontal boundary and basically rip up north and east. And by the way, Bermuda would be one area that I'm going to have to monitor as well. So for our sailing friends, let me get back into this. I don't know if I've covered this as much as I wanted to. What's going to be happening in the Dominican Republic and in Haiti. So when I zoom in, again, we've talked a lot about Jamaica for due reasons. Now, again, on the GFS model here, and even the European model as I showed you, let me see if I get this to loop again real quick. Let's go here, back over here. I'm gonna have to adjust a few of my parameters, so stand by. But I do want to get into a little bit more about what's gonna be happening in these areas. Let's see, we can start there, that's fine. And then we'll go out, let's see, that's too far. Yeah, that's good enough, okay. So, just reloading the reflectivity loop here on the GFS. Again, it's going to be wet. I will say that it does look like maybe a little bit lower amounts of rain. I'll show you the NAM model coming up as well. It's another one to take a look at. But it's going to be wet and it's going to be windy. And the center of circulation could still pass over or near Hispaniola. Again, it's a very mountainous island, okay? The terrain level is crazy. You have some peaks over 11,000 feet, all right? This typically rips apart storms, but the mudslide potential with just a little bit of rain is astronomical over portions of Hispaniola. And then you get towards the coast, and obviously the wind and the rain is going to be a big impact as well. So as we take a look at the time frame here, we'll back it up to start with what's happening this evening. Again, I don't expect a lot of rain today in Dominican Republic and in Haiti. There'll be some fresh breezes from time to time, but as we get into tomorrow, that's when we start to see the weather really go downhill across the island. More wind-driven rain, more heavy tropical downpours. This will shift east towards Puerto Rico. Now, again, I don't expect there to be enough rain to cause any problems in Puerto Rico for the most part, but that is another aspect of the forecast I'm going to closely monitor. We'll look at that coming up in just a second. Let me swing back over here, make sure I get the island that is not behind me. And again, you can just see that the rain continues on and off through Sunday. It's not as widespread or it's not as consistent as what we have over Jamaica or eastern Cuba. But again, rainfall totals with this could still be fairly significant. It's a little bit lower than, again, the last couple of days. But again, the eastern, the southern, and then the far western tip, again, a few inches here, 3, 4 maximum near Santo Domingo. Port-au-Prince's number has really come down here, and again, a few inches there. So it might be looking a little bit better, but I want to just note that not far off of the coast, you have over a foot of rain. It's such a thin needle to thread. There's no way that I'm going to say right now that Hispaniola is not going to have flooding concerns. I mean, there is so much moisture coming in, and the model could shift back east as we get into tomorrow. So I'm going to keep an eye out on that. And again, for Puerto Rico, maybe some heavier rain just offshore here. Again, I would expect a little bit more rain on the western coastline. But towards Ponce on the southern side, you get some of that rich tropical moisture coming up. I don't expect as much rain for the northern coast, Arecibo and San Juan. I don't expect a ton of rain for the Virgin Islands. But if I did have the bullseye an area of Puerto Rico for the potential for some heavier rain, it would be the southern coast and the western coastline again, and that would mainly be Saturday into Sunday. Same thing for the Turks and the Caicos. Again, the models aren't throwing on a ton of rain, 2, 3, 4 inches. Significant wind gusts are possible there. And then for eastern Cuba, again, really solid rainfall totals. Let's go over to the NAM model. I haven't shown you that one yet. And we'll take a look at what the NAM is showing. And honestly, I haven't looked at it since this morning as well. As I was getting prepared, there was a lot to get through here. So we'll take a look at the NAM model together. Now, the NAM model was a little bit more aggressive last time with the wind. And was a little bit farther off towards the east. So let's see what's going on with the NAM model today. This is a North American model, by the way. And we'll let this load up. It looks pretty broad and disorganized, and it does look like it's a little bit farther east than the European and the GFS. So this would be a little bit more of a direct impact for Hispaniola. I would expect there to be more rain out of the NAM model for Hispaniola. Still several inches of rain, absolutely. So again, this whole area just has to be ready for heavy rainfall, gusty winds, maybe 30, 35, 40 miles an hour, and the flood threat that will go along with this, especially in the higher terrain, the mudslide threat as well. And again, you can see some of that heavier rain through at least portions of Puerto Rico. We'll keep an eye on that one. That's one area that I think is going to be very dependent, but could there be some heavier rain that leads to some isolated flash flooding? Yes, but I'm much more concerned about Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and eastern Cuba. All right. So that's kind of a nice little look at that one. We'll zoom back out and take more of your questions. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see here. Any systems in the Bahamas next week? So after this, things look to quiet down, okay? I haven't seen anything that sticks out. Obviously, we're going to be heading into the 4th week of November, and in an official way, hurricane season ends at the end of November. It is just a date on the calendar, but to have several active systems this late, it is kind of the new thing, isn't it? Remember last year, 3rd week of November, we had Hurricane Nicole. But I don't see anything to answer your question for next week so far as well. Joshua says, is this system a threat to the Bahamas? If you're talking about, if you are talking about the one down here, this could bring some wind to the southeast Bahamas and portions of the Turks and Caicos, but it's also going to be moving really fast. I can show you the wind in a broader perspective. We can certainly look at that as well. Let me see here. Switch over to the wind gusts. Not the vorticity. There we go. Let's see. Actually, not the best graphic to do that on. Let's go over here. I've got a lot of different like presets. And I've got basically like all of these buttons that I can push. Again, it's a really neat setup. I'm extremely happy. We've got a great team here at Meteo Mundo that is giving me all of these tools that we can go live like this, and it can be pretty seamless. You know, that's kind of our hope. But so I've got different presets is what I'm trying to get at here. So we're going to take a look at the wind. So I'm going to go to the wind gusts, and then we'll extend it back out into time for a couple of days and put that into motion. So to answer the question of what is this going to do in the Bahamas, it's going to raise some strong winds. Now remember, we already have gale winds up in the northwest Bahamas because of that non-tropical low. As that moves away up the United States East Coast, now you have this system which should become extratropical north of Cuba through the Turks and Caicos. And what I mean by that is that it is not going to be tropical in nature overall when it gets north of Cuba and Hispaniola. This should rapidly become extratropical, but the winds will actually pick up as it does so, because now it becomes more of a mid-latitude cyclone and it races north and east. And I want you to notice again, in Bermuda, as we go over the weekend, we might be talking about some 40 and 50 mile an hour winds in Bermuda as well, but for a very brief time, maybe a 6 to 12 hour window for the southeast Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos. We get some winds out of that. If I push it back into motion, let's stop right about there. We get some wind gusts, again, that could approach 50 miles an hour. That's why the gale warnings are up and could be sticking around. Again, this is Saturday. So that would be, again, southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, where the winds back towards Grand Bahama and Nassau are going to be much lower. Still breezy, but the maximum will be in the southeast Bahamas with that next system. Thanks for the question. Let's see what we got here. Some part, let's see here. What should we expect for Puerto Rico? Luis, how are you? Hopefully I just answered that question. Again, I think a few inches of rain. I'm not as concerned there right now with a flood threat, but it is something that I am going to monitor because I do expect there to be a high chance for rain tomorrow late, Saturday, and portions of Sunday for Puerto Rico. But as far as a flood threat goes, more than likely not. I think the heavier rain stays off towards your west, but I'll keep, I got you covered. If that changes any way, shape, or form, I will certainly mention it. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, Puerto Rico will be impacted a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. No doubt about it. Okay, so I want to reset here, and we have well over 125 people watching. Thank you very much for your support. Again, if you're just tuning in, my name is Rusty McCready. I'm the Chief Meteorologist here at Meteo Mundo, and we are live talking about what's happening in the Caribbean and in the Bahamas. Again, we do daily updates for the Caribbean and the Bahamas. I was going to do a forecast anyway, and I said, you know what, let's just go on live because I know a lot of folks who live in Jamaica follow this channel, and there was a lot of chatter earlier this morning about the rain and what you guys were expecting, and then we have a lot of followers up in the Bahamas as well, and they've had an extremely amount of heavy rain and gusty winds, the gale warnings up. So I do want to kind of reset the story here for those who might just be tuning in. Again, we have this area in the Southwest Caribbean with a high chance of development. Now, this has kind of gone back and forth from the Hurricane Center as to whether they thought this was going to develop, but we do have an actual invest area now. Again, this is Invest 98L. There is a hurricane reconnaissance aircraft that is currently going through this storm, checking out flight level winds, checking out surface winds, using drop zones, getting all of this data. And then the Hurricane Center will incorporate that and they'll come up with what they want to do. And by that, the possibility, if they get a closed center of circulation, of getting a tropical depression out of this. They've been a little bit stronger in their wording as of the last report. They say that, first of all, flash flooding is likely through portions of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and eastern Cuba. And that interests in Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic should obviously monitor this, but that tropical storm watches may be required for some of those areas as early as this afternoon. So again, if the reconnaissance aircraft finds a closed center, starts to find some tropical depression winds, we could get tropical storm watches to be hoisted later this afternoon. I think Jamaica would be the first place. Don't know if it would include the Cayman Islands. It's close. You can see that the area here. I haven't mentioned the Cayman Islands much because I'm not as concerned there. Again, the heaviest rain is going to be east of the center, and I don't think we're going to get anywhere near the eastern center getting over West End or Georgetown. That being said, my friends in the Cayman Islands, some downpours are likely out of this, but flooding rains will probably not be a threat. You could just see how that moisture is so much richer when you go farther off towards the east, towards Jamaica. So again, it's been raining on and off. It's been overcast. We've had heavier rain from time to time in Jamaica. We've had some, drier times, but overall, as we go through today and tomorrow, it's going to get wetter across the island, and that flood threat will continue. And because of that, again, if you're just tuning in for Jamaica, and let's switch over to the visible satellite imagery because I just like it so much. For Jamaica, and you can see those bright, nice white cloud tops and that nice little spin right there. There's a flash flood watch for all parishes of Jamaica until 8 a.m. tomorrow, and then a severe weather alert until 6 p.m. tomorrow. Again, that is from your local officials. I urge you to check in with your local officials and your local government for any updated severe weather statements. But again, you can see just those thick cloud tops there. And again, wind gusts. Let's take a look at that. I haven't looked at wind gusts here in a little bit as well, so I can switch over to our surface products. And again, we had a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust in Kingston over the last couple of hours. So not sustained, but a nice little 40-mile-an-hour tropical storm force gust and a nice little spin up right here. So again, we have a nice little spin here, kind of where they're investigating is a little bit more to the south and to the west, but throughout this entire area, we'll have a northeast wind. Now, Port-au-Prince, Haiti, popping up with a nice little 35-mile-an-hour wind gust, well away from the center of circulation. So, some decent winds, and even towards Puerto Rico. Again, some 25, 30-mile-an-hour winds through portions of the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. And I mentioned it earlier as well here up in the Bahamas. This center of circulation of this non-tropical low is now basically right over the western side of Grand Bahama, where earlier in the day we had about a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust in Freeport. And the winds have been howling, and the rain has been copious through those areas. Okay, let's get back into it here. Let's see. Richard says lots of rain in Jamaica. Chad says the rain is drizzling and the wind is light right now. Billy says very light rain in western Jamaica. And Paul says raining on and off in Jamaica. Yeah, I mean, look, it's really area dependent right now. Some of you are saying it's raining cats and dogs. Others are saying, we haven't gotten that much rain yet, or it's relatively dry at this point. And that's exactly what I expect right now. But again, as this system gets a little bit stronger and it gets a little bit closer to Jamaica, the heavier rain should be more persistent and consistent. And so the weather is going to go downhill deeper into this Thursday, overnight, and then throughout Friday. And again, the models have been very consistent in producing very heavy rainfall totals in those areas. We'll get back to that for those who have just joined us here. Again, this is tonight at 7 o'clock. I'll back it up a little bit more here. Let's see here. I got to then tell the model to start looping. That's not it. There we go. All right, do your thing. I'm going to back it up a little bit more even too. All right, so again, for Jamaica, if we back this up to basically now, right? This is kind of a snapshot of what's happening now, 1, 2 p.m.-ish. You can see that heavy rain just really sit over the island right up through this evening. Take a look at the top end of your screen. You'll see that's the model time frame. As we get to this evening, as we get overnight, and Jamaica, I'm going to zoom in for you. Take a look at some of these areas. And it doesn't really matter. Again, it doesn't really matter where you are. I want to be very clear about that. I don't expect there to be a tremendously more amount of rain for like Kingston and Portland, Parish and Port Antonio compared to St. James and Hanover and Westmoreland parishes on the western side. I think it's a 4 to 8 inch average with locally higher rainfall amounts than that. And I might be underdoing it a bit. I hope I'm not. Again, if you are just joining in, the European model is over 10 inches of rain, but you get the idea that even the GFS, which was kind of like heavy rain east side, lighter rain west side, is now just saying it's a lot of rain for the entire island. Again, flash flooding could be an issue. Mudslides and some of the hillier terrain could be an issue. Localized urban flooding could be an issue. And the rain doesn't really stop as we get into tomorrow morning. There's tomorrow afternoon. Finally, towards 7 o'clock tomorrow night, we finally start to see the system pull away. So let's see here. It's about, 3 p.m.? If we say it goes until 7 p.m. tomorrow, we're still looking at 28 more hours of rain. Even if you were to get a 1/4 of an inch of rain an hour, that's 7 additional inches of rain. And a 1/4 inch of rain an hour is not unrealistic by any way, shape, or form. So that's pretty conservative for what I'm seeing. If we said that Kingston, over the next 28 hours, got a 1/4 inch of rain an hour, that's an additional 7 inches of rain. That's going to be a problem, and they'll probably be locally more higher than that. So again, it's all about how long this sticks around. And I've mentioned this the last several days. Look, it doesn't matter about whether this becomes a tropical depression or a tropical storm. This is a slow, meandering system with a ton of moisture. It's the rain that's going to fall. Now, you get saturated ground. You do get a core of winds over 40 miles an hour. That could knock down some trees. That could cause some power issues. There could be additional hazards because of that, but certainly the most widespread impact for Jamaica is going to be the potential for flash flooding. It's the same thing for eastern Cuba, and again, through portions of Haiti and the Dominican Republic as well. It's all about the rain at this point in time with some gusty winds to go along with it. Okay, let's see here. Mary Lindy, how bad will it get for the south of Haiti? Around Las Cayas, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that right to be exact. Okay, so for southern Haiti, what I expect is the potential for very heavy rainfall to begin to move into your area as we get into tomorrow. Now, it's not going to rain much the remainder of today through Haiti, okay? We'll start to see that rain move in overnight and as we get into tomorrow morning. Now, again, the GFS model, this is the model I'm showing you, is trying to keep the heaviest rain just west of you, but you know that area and you know that flooding can occur very quickly. It's backed off some of the totals, but the NAM model is still showing high rain totals. The bottom line is that there's going to be so much moisture in this area. I'm in no way backing off of the potential for flooding rains in this area. It's encouraging a bit to see the GFS is a little bit weaker here, but again, the needle is so thin to thread. I've got to assume that there will be some heavier downpours, the potential for that flooding rain. Now, timing wise, again, this starts tomorrow morning through tomorrow afternoon and Saturday, and then there'll be additional rain as we get into Sunday, but not as much. Everything begins to pull off east. Remember, as the center passes over Hispaniola or just off towards the west tomorrow and into Saturday, it's going to begin to accelerate as it gets into the Turks and Caicos. So now we finally get some forward speed and we try and pull this rain away a little bit quicker. Again, the NAM model, I want to show you this here if you're sticking with me. Mary, by the way, this is for you. Going over to the NAM model, if I switch over to the NAM model and go back out to the same time, and I have shown this here previously, but if I switch over to the NAM and then I pull this out, you're going to see that there's just more rain with this model. Okay, so take a look at it. You get the idea that not all the models are in full agreement, and that's going to be expected with a broad disturbance. NAM model shows more rain. This would probably be more in like the 3 to 6 inch rainfall potential here. The European model is also on the a little bit higher side as well. Maybe we don't get 8, 10, 12 inches of rain in Hispaniola. That would be great. But 3 to 6 inches, even if that's a conservative number, is going to cause some problems. And again, the time frame beginning tomorrow morning, throughout Friday, at least through most of Saturday, and then trying to dry out a bit on your Sunday. It's going to kick up sea conditions as well. Obviously on the western and southern sides of the island, the wind threat, we can look at the NAM. I don't think we've looked at the NAM winds yet, so let's do that. This is going to be the winds out of the NAM. And we'll see how this spins it up. Now, the NAM was a little bit more aggressive with the winds yesterday. We'll see if it's doing the same as today. Second drink of water. And again, I'm looking at this in real time just as you guys are as well. The NAM was a little bit more aggressive yesterday than even the GFS and the European. Not spinning it up much, not surprising. We're going to get probably some near tropical storm force winds. So, Mary, if you're still with me, let's see here. This is tomorrow. No, this is Saturday night. This is Saturday night. Winds. And I don't know why, but whenever I click that button, I lose my keyframe. Got to talk to the developer about that. Here you go. 30, 40, sorry, not 30, 35, 40 mile an hour winds there on the western side of Haiti. And again, I don't expect that to be a sustained wind, but there are gusts in that 30 to 35, maybe 40 mile an hour range. You notice that even on the NAM model, first of all, for Jamaica, 30, 35, 40 mile an hour winds. The center, whatever it is going to be, gets very close to the island, okay? That's going to rip it apart. High terrain, not a very well-defined center anyway. Yeah, it's gonna take it apart. And then what it becomes, again, is a very elongated system in a hurry. And that wind field just expands. Again, that's the first system moving north, but look how that wind field expands and then races north and east. So extratropical in a flash. So even if we get a depression and at the highest end a weak tropical storm, we'll see, it won't be that for very long as it accelerates north and east. They might end up calling it subtropical, right? So you can get tropical storm vents over near Jamaica and Haiti and the Dominican Republic and Cuba. Then as it gets over the Turks and Caicos, it becomes extratropical, and then they rename it subtropical storm vents because it's not truly tropical in nature, which happens a lot with November storms, and then it becomes a wind maker and races to the north and to the east. Okay, let's see here. Take a look at that. These are your temperatures, by the way. By the way, someone in the last live I did said that 80 degrees was cold. Do you guys agree with that? I'm a Floridian. I grew up in the heat and the humidity, but I don't mind some cooler weather as well. Hey, down in the Windward Islands, we're getting some 30-mile-an-hour gusts there. A nice little breeze. I'll keep an eye on that for you guys as well. I mean, obviously, those are just some localized showers, but we're popping up some 30-mile-an-hour winds. Even in the last couple of hours, Port-au-Prince has thrown up a 35-mile-an-hour gust. Again, not sustained, but the wind field is beginning to pick up. Same thing for Kingston. Nice little 40-mile-an-hour wind gust there in the last couple of hours. And again, high-end chance of development with the area in red, taking off that development area, taking off the satellite data. Those are your tropical tracks. Now that we have an invest, now we have the tropical suite of models running. That's a lot of lines right over Jamaica in that same area. Okay, let's see what else we got going here, guys. Good to see you. Again, thanks a lot. Yes, please hit the like button. Please consider supporting the channel as well. We have our super chat feature, our thanks, other ways to support us in the description below. Help us keep the lights on. Help us keep the lights on by liking the video and subscribing. Again, we are a newer channel, and let your friends and family know about us if you appreciate some of the content that we got going on here. Richard says Turks Caicos will also be impacted. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I love the chat. You guys keep it up here. Let's see. Is it Jolie? Says, what wind speed should we expect in Jamaica tomorrow? And I apologize here. I'm just trying to make sure what we got going on here. Okay. Oh, so winds for tomorrow in Jamaica, I'm going to say we're going to have some wind gusts of 35 to 40 miles an hour, potentially even higher. It may depend on whether we actually get a true tropical system to develop. Now, obviously, if we get a closed center of circulation, where that closed center of circulation travels, we'll have a core of wind that would be sustained of around 35 miles an hour with some higher gusts. But look, even as this rich tropical moisture moves through, we're going to get gusts 35, maybe 40 miles an hour. Now, it probably won't go higher than that, thank goodness. But again, a closed center would at least put a core of wind moving across the island that would just be a little bit more prominent, if you will. Certainly with these downpours, we're going to get good winds to kick up from time to time, but the big threat is not the wind right now, it is the rain. Again, doesn't mean that it won't cause a few additional issues, especially with maybe knocking down some trees, and it always comes with some power issues as well. But yeah, 35 to 40 through the day. Tomorrow, probably ending in the afternoon based on the timing that I saw. And by the way, the wind will be picking up later this afternoon, especially this evening and overnight. So it's not like, it's going to wait till tomorrow morning. I do expect the weather to really go downhill overnight as well. And again, because this is the daylight, we'll switch over to the satellite imagery. That's the visible satellite imagery. It's just a beautiful shot here. Love the opportunity to be able to show that. Let's see. Let's take off that data. Again, nice little twist. We've really consolidated that low, that broad area, which will more than likely become a closed low, but it's looking pretty good. Again, up in the Gulf of Mexico, nice little non-tropical low off of the old frontal boundary. And again, for the Bahamas, there's that non-tropical low, which is right over Freeport right now, basically right over the west side of Grand Bahama. The interesting thing is the winds might be dying down a little bit there because the center is basically over it. The winds will pick up in Walker's Key, and then the rain and the winds will pick up over places like Andros and Nassau again. A lot of flooding towards Miami, portions of the Keys. Again, Marathon had 6.5 inches of rain yesterday. And again, for the Bahamas, a gale warning continues, excessive rainfall, flood and severe weather watch until 6 p.m. Okay, let's see here. Going back over to the chat. I keep hitting the wrong button. Eric says, thanks for the channel. We had a lot of rain last night on New Providence Island. Saying hi from the Bahamas. Yeah, I would imagine so. Nassau got hit pretty hard there. New Providence, Nassau. And again, Grand Bahama, Freeport, Lucaya, West End, Walker's Key. Significant stuff there. Let's take a look real quickly again at what I expect. Now, this is the live radar. This is what's happening right now over the Northwest Bahamas. So this is not a model. This is the actual radar showing you what's going on. And again, I have the satellite data on here as well, and you can clearly see the twist to both the satellite and the radar data indicating where that non-tropical low is. It is not going to develop. The Hurricane Center, again, I don't know why, they had a 10% chance. It was like, the chance or how long it would last, like a Kardashian, marriage, I said. If it became tropical, it would be like 12 minutes. This is always, in my opinion, going to be a non-tropical system off an old frontal boundary, but the impacts certainly felt like they were a tropical storm. I mean, there's a lot of wind and rain impacts to the southeast side of Florida, portions of northwest the Bahamas as well. You had winds 40, 50 miles an hour, 6, 8 plus inches of rain in some spots. So it was almost as if a tropical storm did move through, despite the fact that it's the third week of November. So let's take a look here. A couple different things I can do on the models with our friends in the northwest Bahamas. Go back over to the let's see here. What do we want to look at? A really interesting product. Actually, let me switch over to this one here. I'm curious. Nah, I don't want to show that. Let's see. No, that's not the right product. Got a lightning product here, but it's not. There we go. I was just curious if there was going to be any lightning out of this. I would typically expect no, but if you've heard a crack of thunder in the Bahamas, let me know. Yeah, not much. So this is basically like a future track of lightning. It points out a little bit more than I expected, to be honest. So let me know if you've actually heard some thunder in places like Eleuthera and New Providence and Andros. It's a possibility. Looks like it might be coming in a little bit more for tomorrow as well. I'm actually surprised it's showing that much as way of the potential lightning in the area. All right, this is something though, but again, what's going to be happening with the rain? Still could be some really heavy rain from time to time. Now, again, we're driving this low north and east fairly quickly. So I do anticipate that the heaviest rain will begin to end in the northwest Bahamas today, but with a southwest flow, we could pick up additional heavier rain across Andros and New Providence and Eleuthera and the central Bahamas through tomorrow before we finally get the drier air to fully kick in. Again, and I'll show you, we'll go over the European model one more time here, but 1 to 4 additional inches of rain is possible in the northwest and the central Bahamas to go along with that gale warning. Let's see if I have those models fired up. I do. Okay, so I'll take myself back off camera. Again, the GFS model here in the Caribbean continues to paint on that disturbance developing into a depression or a tropical storm. There is your track right over western Jamaica, eastern Cuba, then through the Turks and Caicos, and very much accelerating quickly away after that. European model is not as aggressive. Again, it's just kind of meandering. You get a couple of spots of black there, meaning that, hey, it might try and spin up a little bit, but nothing really significant. Just kind of a broad disturbance. Still could be a depression even on the European model, but not as high of a chance. The European rainfall total is, again, higher. So if you're just tuning in, it was like 4 to 8 with locally higher amounts of the GFS. Anywhere in white that you see, which is really a decent part of the southern side of Jamaica, that's over 10 inches of rain. That is storm total, okay, from what's already fallen to what will fall over at least tomorrow night, if not even through a little bit of Saturday, over 10 inches of rain. Again, it's a little bit lower in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Now for the southern coastline, anywhere that you see the reds and then kind of those darker browns, that's from about 3 to 6 inches of rain on the European model. It's a lower amount in the blue and the green. If you look at the Northwest Bahamas, as I've mentioned, these are additional rainfall totals. Just under that banner is 3.87 for Freeport and Lucaya. How about 2 inches of rain for New Providence, 2+ inches of rain for Andros, 2 to 3 inches of rain for Eleuthera, a nice little swath there over Abaco near Marsh Harbor of maybe 4 inches of rain, Bimini 1.5 additional inches of rain. So we've still got some good rain there as well. So again, what are the areas that we need to concern ourselves with? Well, we got ourselves the flooding rain threat for Jamaica, eastern Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, and then the gale warning that's currently in effect for the Northwest and the central Bahamas. Again, for Jamaica, flash flood watch, all parishes until 8 a.m. tomorrow. So be prepared for potential flash flooding. Check in with your local officials and your local government, and a severe weather alert until at least 6 p.m. tomorrow as well. I'm going to reset this one more time, and then we'll wrap things up. Again, real quickly, you can follow us on all of our social media pages. If you want to send us a video or some pictures of what's happening in your area, mymediamundo@gmail.com. We have that email address listed on the community tab right here on YouTube. So you can write it down right now or just find that on the community tab, but send us pictures and videos there. Find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And by the way, you are more than welcome to send us videos on Instagram as well. We got a couple of those from the flooding in Belize that I showed here on our YouTube page when I did a forecast for that. So again, drop us some videos from wherever you're viewing us, but certainly Jamaica and the Bahamas. We'd love to see some of that as well. Okay. We're going to reset this one more time here, and then I think we'll wrap this up. I'm going to go back and look at the questions real quick as well. Make sure that I've got everyone covered. Warren says, oh, that just jumped on me here. Excuse me real quick. Let's see here. Oh, I lost that one. Okay. Let's see here. What time should we start to see the weather deteriorate in the Turks and Caicos? So for the Turks and Caicos, let me switch back over to this. For the Turks and Caicos, I would expect you to get some rain starting later tomorrow. Your worst weather is over the weekend. Now you're going to get some rain, a lot of wind-driven rain. Again, as this system moves north and east, it is going to be accelerating through the Turks and Caicos. That's going to increase the winds simply because of the forward speed of the storm. But it's also going to limit the potential for flooding because now it's moving quicker. It's not going to sit over one area as long. So I'm going to monitor the potential for flooding in the Turks and Caicos. I don't think it's going to be widespread. We could have some localized isolated flash flooding, and then the winds are going to be howling through the Turks and Caicos over the weekend. So again, the timing for you is beginning late tomorrow with some of the rain, and then I think the strongest winds move in overnight into Saturday morning and then through the weekend. Thank you very much for your question, by the way, as well. All right, guys, if you got a couple more questions, throw them in here before we wrap it up. I'm happy to answer. Let's see what we got. From Jamaica, thank you for the update. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you. Let's see here. Potential tropical cyclone 22. Did we get that? Let me look over here. I've got a couple of different computers. Yeah, we did. So, the National Hurricane Center will initiate advisories on potential tropical cyclone 22 beginning in 45 minutes. Okay. All right. I hate that term, by the way. I don't know if anyone understands it. What? Okay. Potential tropical cyclones. All right. What does this mean for my friends in Jamaica? So, I have mentioned it several times on this live stream that there is a hurricane reconnaissance aircraft which is investigating this storm. That is their live real-time plot right there. I can actually show you this as they've been interrogating this broad center, okay? More than likely, the information that they're relaying back to the Hurricane Center, they're seeing either really strong winds in some areas, they're starting to see the pressure fall, they're starting to see some kind of wrapped up system where they are more than likely going to make this a tropical depression at some point in time. So, what does a potential tropical cyclone mean? It means that impacts to a land area are expected within 48 hours. We don't have anything yet. We do not have a tropical depression, but more than likely between now and the time it arrives in Jamaica, we will, and because that time frame is very short, that's why you get a potential tropical cyclone. They want to try and give folks who will be impacted by this in short order a little bit of heads up. They don't want to start the first advisory on a tropical depression 50 miles from Jamaica and it's already slamming the island. Because again, especially with these broad disturbances, impacts are felt well away from that center of circulation. So potential tropical cyclone means we don't have a developed tropical cyclone yet, but one is possible and will impact land areas within a 48-hour time frame. I hope I did my best to explain that. It's a very convoluted term, but that's what it is. They want to get the messaging out ahead of time. What does that mean? That means more than likely we will get a tropical depression between now and by the time it moves over Jamaica. It also means we might get some tropical storm watches that will be issued because there's the potential. Again, it doesn't take much, 39-mile-an-hour winds, to get ourselves a tropical storm. So we could see some tropical storm watches issued. And even the last messaging from the Hurricane Center was more aggressive in that wording as well. So thank you very much, by the way, Event, for that. It was something I wanted to make sure I looked at before I got off the air, because I had a feeling that we were going to get some kind of update from the Hurricane Center with the aircraft right over that as well. Okay. So again, potential tropical cyclone 22 coming up in 45 minutes. We will get a cone and a track. Okay, we will get a cone. We will get a track. It's not going to matter much. And what I mean by that is the system is so broad, and it's still more about the rain. That track might show where the center is and the winds of 35 miles an hour. But look how broad all of this moisture is. That's the bigger story for Jamaica, Eastern Cuba, and the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So, potential tropical cyclone 22 coming up. Warren says it's raining on and off my part of Jamaica. South Manchester. Okay. Thank you very much, Warren. Mandeville, Manchester there, south central side of the island. Appreciate you. Thank you for the report. Richard is probably right around here somewhere in Mandeville area. Maypen, our friends there, Clarendon. And then we get over towards Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town, Port Antonio. Appreciate everyone from Jamaica tuning in. Appreciate everyone for liking and subscribing as well. Got you covered here at Meteo Mundo. Can promise you that. Again, wow. So we're looking at a depression more than likely here. But again, so broad. Nice little curly Q there out of this. Okay. He's in St. Catherine. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate the update. All righty. I think we're going to wrap it up here, friends. We have nearly 200 people watching, and I can't thank you enough. Again, let me just reset this one more time. I think that's important. For our friends in the Caribbean, we have a potential tropical cyclone that will begin advisories at the top of the hour. So I'll be back on with a forecast update for that. We will get a track and we will get a cone. But again, that's where the wind is going, or the center. The rain is the big story, where we could see 4 to 8 inches and locally higher amounts, maybe up to a foot of rain or more in portions of Jamaica. That begins in earnest later tonight, overnight, and through at least a lot of our Friday. It's been raining fairly heavily already, but we have, again, based on model estimates, another 28 hours of potential heavier rain across the island. It'll be the same for Eastern Cuba as well. Then for Haiti, we'll start to see the weather going downhill overnight. It'll be the same thing, especially for the coastline of the Dominican Republic, and then that rain spreads off towards the east. One thing that I'm keeping a very close eye on over the next 24 hours is the amount of rain that the models are painting on for Hispaniola. They've come down a little bit, maybe 3 to 6 inches, but those could go back up. Pinpointing specific rainfall totals with this broad of a system is extremely hard to do. Hopefully we see that trend continue to stay lower for Hispaniola, but certainly not out of the woods by any means for flooding concerns there. Turks and Caicos, your weather goes downhill late tomorrow night with a lot of wind over the weekend. For our friends in the Bahamas, that non-tropical low is right over Grand Bahama right now. It is moving north and east. You have gale warnings in effect at this point in time, excessive rainfall, flood, and severe weather watches in effect until 6 p.m. for tonight. All right, gang. We're going to wrap it up for now, but you know I'm not going too far. I appreciate the support. Thank you tuning into this live stream. Again, if you haven't yet, do me a favor as we get out the door at hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel. Certainly appreciate it. And again, we will see you very soon and maybe do another one of these live streams coming up as well as we keep you updated with both of these disturbances, but especially focused for our friends in portions of the Caribbean island with that potential tropical cyclone. And again, we'll begin initiation of some advisories there starting at the top of the hour. We'll see you soon, friends, right here at Meteo Mundo.